Hello, everyone. My name is Brayden. This is Airless Quill 9, and in today's video, we are continuing our discussion of the 2024 Monster Manual, and we are going to be talking about crawling claws today. So, crawling claws are severed appendages with malicious will. They are the severed hands that move and act of their own murderous accord. These deathless appendages can spring to life from the severed limbs of killers and villains, and sinister magic users might animate crawling claws as foul servants. Crawling claws appear in a variety of forms, from decaying human hands to the fresh appendages of animals or monsters, so they can take a variety of forms. But we are going to talk about two crawling claw stat blocks today that are present in the 2024 Monster Manual. One of them is entirely new and is a very welcome addition. So let's go ahead and get to it. The first stat block we're going to be talking about today is just the normal crawling claw. This is a tiny undead that is neutral evil. It has an armor class of 12, an initiative of +2, 2 hit points, a speed of 20 feet, and a climb speed of 20 feet. They have ability scores, strength 10, dexterity 14, constitution 11, intelligence 5, wisdom 10, and charisma 4. For immunities, they are immune to necrotic and poison damage, as well as the charmed, exhaustion, frightened, incapacitated, and poison conditions. For senses, they have blind sight of 30 feet and a passive perception of 10. They understand common, but they can't speak it for their languages. And the Crawling Claw is a challenge rating 0 creature, which means it has 10 experience points and a proficiency bonus of +2. The only other thing to mention about the stat block is its actions. It has one action available to it called Slam. This is a melee attack roll with a +3 to hit, a reach of 5 feet, and on a hit it deals 2 necrotic damage. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the actual changes from this Crawling Claw from its 2014 version. So first off the bat, the Crawling Claw has some new immunities. This come in the form of both necrotic damage as well as the frightened and incapacitated conditions. I believe the changes here are mostly because, at least in the terms of the conditions with frightened and incapacitated, the Crawling Claw previously in 2014 used to have the turn immunity trait. This just said that it was immune to effects that turn undead. Since now that isn't really something that is present in 2024 with the revisions to the cleric class, the turn undead channel divinity now frightens and incapacitates undead. So, with the addition of immunity to both the frightened and incapacitated conditions, the Crawling Claw now effectively has that turn immunity baked into its stat block without it basically being stated outright. So that is why those are present here. As for the necrotic damage immunity, I believe the change here is present and what changes have been made to its action attack, which we will talk about in just a sec. The only other change in the stat block is to the blind sense or blind sight sense. Previously, the Crawling Claw could not see beyond the radius of this blind sight. That has just been completely removed from the stat block, so it's no longer something that the DM needs to keep in mind when they're running a Crawling Claw, which is a lot easier to maintain, honestly. Now, as for the action, previously this action used to be called Claws. It is now called Slam. I did forget to underline the name, but that is because the most interesting change here is to the actual damage. So beforehand, the damage for this action used to be 1d4 plus 1 bludgeoning or slashing damage, of which you could choose which it dealt. Now the Crawling Claw is dealing 2 necrotic damage flat. And this is pretty interesting. I think the design aspect behind this change is because the Crawling Claw is now, or is having a much closer relation to the necromantic aspect of its origin. And I think because of that, the Crawling Claw is now this undead that deals this life-draining energy attack, which is why it now has a slam attack that deals necrotic damage. So yeah, some very few minor changes to the Crawling Claw, but overall, I do like the additions, especially the extra immunities, and I think the slam attack honestly fits the idea that they're going for with this Crawling Claw, and honestly, it's not that large of a change either. So yeah, some interesting design changes here, but nothing I'm not unwelcoming of. Next, we are going to talk about an entirely new stat block. This is the Swarm of Crawling Claws. Honestly, I'm surprised that we didn't get a stat block like this previously in 2014, but thanks to the 2024 Monster Manual, we do have a Swarm of Crawling Claw stat block now, and yeah, this is very nice to see here. So let's get into it. So the Swarm of Crawling Claws is a medium swarm of tiny undead, which are neutral evil. They have an armor class of 12, an initiative of +2. They have 49 hit points, a speed of 30 feet, and a climb speed of 30 feet. For their ability scores, they have a strength of 14, a dexterity of 14, a constitution of 11, an intelligence of 5, a wisdom of 10, and a charisma of 4. They are resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, as all swarms really are. For their immunities, they have immunity to necrotic and poison damage, as well as the charmed, exhaustion, frightened, grappled, incapacitated, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, restrained, and stunned conditions. That's almost every condition in the book, but yeah, it makes a ton of sense. For senses, they have blind sight of 30 feet and passive perception of 10. For languages, they understand common but can't speak. And the Swarm is a challenge rating 3, granting it 700 experience points and a proficiency bonus of +2. The Swarm trait that the Swarm has says that it can occupy another creature's space and vice versa, and the Swarm can move through an opening large enough for a tiny creature. The Swarm can't regain hit points or gain temporary hit points. That is an important thing there. And then finally, the Swarm has an action called Swarm of Grasping Hands. This is a melee attack roll with a +4 to hit and a reach of 5 feet. On a hit, it deals 4d8 +2 necrotic damage, or 2d8 +2 necrotic damage if the Swarm is bloodied. This means if it has half hit points or fewer. Finally, if the target is a medium or smaller creature, it also has the prone condition from being hit by the attack. So that is very nice here. Overall, I'm very happy seeing the Swarm Crawling Claws present in this book, and it's just nice to have a higher challenge rating option for Crawling Claws since they are such a low CR to begin with. And honestly, a Swarm is going to be a lot more intimidating than just a single Crawling Claw, but it's nice to have both options available depending on what type of campaign you're running and the particular levels of characters. So yeah, pretty happy with what they have done here, and kind of excited to be able to use a Swarm of Crawling Claws in a future campaign. But that is going to be it for this video. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. We are going through every single stat block in the 2024 Monster Manual and comparing them to 2014 equivalents where that is relevant. So keep an eye out for those videos every single weekday. Next on our list, we are going to be talking about cultists, and there are quite a few cultist stat blocks, so this is going to be a series of 2 videos that I've split this up into, so just keep an eye out for those videos in the coming days. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. See you later.